Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Cory. I'm your host, Cory Smith, here to discuss NC State football versus Virginia Tech. Wolfpack returns home after 2 weeks away. Obviously, a frustrating loss this past weekend to Duke, but a chance to get back on track this coming up weekend against a Virginia Tech team that is less than 2 weeks removed from firing its head coach, is off to a 1-3 start to the season. Obviously, coming off of a win against Wofford, but still, again, not the result that this team wanted to start the year. And multiple players are going to be out for this game as well. But I'll give my 3 pack priorities for this game along with my prediction. And then the very end, I'll also have my daughter come on the day after National Daughters Day to give her take and her prediction for NC State versus Virginia Tech. I'll start with number 1, limiting Kyron Drones, especially running the football. It's something that nearly every team has been able to do so far this season. Obviously, Wofford this past weekend, he was able to get going from a passing standpoint. But when you limit him from a rushing standpoint, something that every team has been able to do, he's averaging 2.8 yards per carry so far this season. You go back to the season opener, 2.2 yards per carry. 2 weekends ago against ODU, 3.6 yards per carry. That was his most on the season. NC State cannot allow him to roll out of the pocket and actually run the football. Something they did well 2 years ago when they faced him, but obviously that was a much different team. You had Peyton Wilson on that team still. You had a defense that was had gotten its ground throughout the year. Obviously, a little bit different this time around with a lot of new players still trying to figure out, get their footing when it comes to this defense. I think having Kean Sloan back in this game will be critical. Use him as a spy a little bit against what you're facing when it comes to Kyron Drones. Make him one-dimensional in this game, and he has at times had mistakes, when it comes to throwing the football. Going back to the season opener, 2 interceptions in that game against ODU, threw a pick in that one, and that gives the defense an opportunity to give the ball back to the offense and for this offense to really get going. Again, like I said, Kyron Drones, a player that when he gets going running the football, he's been really productive, but to this point in the season has not been that. And this offense really runs through him. Obviously, every offense is going to run through the quarterback, but there hasn't been a whole lot of proven weapons outside of him to this point in the season. And like I said, several players out, particularly along the offensive line. This unit is going to be a ragtag when coming into Raleigh. And for NC State, you really have to limit what Kyron Drones does running the football. Speaking of running the football, I think on the offensive side of the football, the number 2 priority for me is going to be Hollywood Smothers getting going, Duke Scott getting an opportunity to really get things going too. This is a defense in Virginia Tech that has been really awful at stopping the run, allowing over 157 yards per game on the ground. It's a defense that I believe as of right now ranks 16th out of 17 teams in the ACC, or 15th out of 16 in the ACC. Obviously, you don't actually have, you don't actually have Notre Dame in this one, but this is a defense right now that has been really struggling to stop the run. For Hollywood Smothers, he's a guy that's averaged over 100 yards per game. He's actually rushed for over 100 yards per game in each of the last 3 games, and became the first player since Nyheim Hines to do that. If he rushes for over 100 yards on Saturday against this Virginia Tech defense, which I believe he will, he'll become the first player since Matt Days back in 2015 to rush for over 100 yards in 4 consecutive games for NC State. And then, like I said, I think Duke Scott really gets going in this game too. I think he gets some opportunities, particularly late if NC State is able to run away in this game, like I think they will. He probably gets more opportunities. If he's able to get, somewhere between 8 to 10 carries and really start to get his ground and start figuring out what he's going to actually do as a running back, I think he becomes a bruiser late in the game. Maybe he ends up breaking one off for a touchdown as well. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns in this game, as I'll mention in just a second. But I really think if both of those two are able to get going, and then a guy like CJ Bailey is able to run the football too, get Will Wilson in on some 4th down plays, maybe goal line carries again like they have the past couple weeks. I really think NC State has a chance to establish the run early, run away with this one early, and then be able to continue doing that throughout the course of the game with guys like Duke Scott. Maybe you get a Colson Fields in this game, who's been the 3rd running back for this team but hasn't had a chance to get on the field to this point. He also gets an opportunity. And then, like I said, some short passes across the middle. Justin Jolie gets going. You also get some other guys in this game plan. Really feels like this is the game where NC State can continue to run the football and establish that late in the game. We'll see. Wesley Grimes expected to come back, so this offense could be spread out even more than it has been in the past few weeks. And I think they have an opportunity to really run the football against this defense, and that becomes my number 2 priority for them, is establishing that and continuing it throughout the game. Number 3, I don't normally talk about special teams, but boy, after the comedy of errors from last week, it feels like this special teams unit just really needs to settle in this game and against Campbell before you go on the road against a Notre Dame team in a few weeks that has been very good. It's struggled so far. Obviously started off 0-2, but they've still been a good team and they faced really good opponents. So I feel like this is a chance for the special teams get back on track. It's something that they've really struggled with the past few weeks. My prediction as a whole is 44-24 for NC State to win this game. And I feel like a lot of that's going to have to come from kicking some field goals in later in drives. You get yourself in the red zone and you're able to put yourself in a position to score the football. I think NC State comes away with 3 field goals in this one. That's why it's 44-24. You get 5 touchdowns, a few running the football, a few CJ Bailey, but it feels like kicking the ball late in those situations as well is going to end up leading to NC State once again not only covering the spread but running away with this one and winning by double digits. I'm going to bring in one last prediction here. I've already given mine overall, but I'm going to bring in Chloe, so she'll come on over here. I'm going to have her jump on and give her prediction as well for what she feels. Like I said, 44-24 for me. Chloe, I need you to come on over here so I can move on to this one. Jump on in. Go ahead.
I think that NC State will win 35-14. I predict that NC State's offense will get back on track. I think Hollywood Smothers will get 75 plus yards and a touchdown. CJ Bailey will throw for multiple touchdowns and run one in. Thank you for watching another Coffee with Chloe and Cory.